Massacre on the beat!
Welcome everyone to the Winlife podcast, where we focus on financial as well as personal growth. Today we have a very special guest. He's a close friend, colleague, as well as mentor. He taught me the ropes to learn this trading business, and I wouldn't be here without him. So I'm proud to welcome Brandon Abass to the show. Brandon Abass is a successful day trader, trading coach, and entrepreneur. He is a firm believer in the power of mastery, and he teaches that repetition breeds mastery. Brandon is from Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. He spends his days on the charts and his evenings in the garage working on his next big car creation. The Winlife podcast welcomes Brandon Abass to the show. How you doing today, brother?
Good, man. Good. Just had lunch a little late, but yeah, I'm good. Good to be here, man. This is actually really interesting, a little new for me, but you know what? Always trying something new, right?
Definitely. And the whole point of this podcast is really to reach more people. And I think with something like Spotify, something like Apple podcasts, it's just like it's a really good venue for the type of knowledge that both me and you put out there. Like, we're big mindset teachers, and the industry is swarmed with a bunch of mindset scammers. So I really want to highlight those that are really doing the work. And I learned so much from you on how to, not just on how to trade and how to set my lessons up, but just about my own mindset. So I thought that it'd be great to have you on the show, kind of pick your brain, and your answers are just going to really help add value to those. So, this is what it's all about, adding value. So
For sure, bro. For sure.
So kind of just crack things off. I want to know, how long have you been trading for?
Officially since 2015, right? But I'll tell you that, it really only became feasible, say, by 2017, but officially since 2015,
So you kind of went full time in 2017?
more or less, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So I know it takes a lot of people upwards of 5 years to become consistently profitable. So you were definitely an example of, hey, you buckle down, you do things the right way, you don't take shortcuts. This is feasible in a shorter window. And yeah, you really are living by example out here. If people aren't too familiar with Brandon, he's big in the trading community, and he's taught a lot of traders to stand on their own. And then he's also coached up a bunch of other mentors who now teach other traders. Let me ask you this, Brandon. When did you discover you had that entrepreneurial spirit?
In terms of trading or teaching?
Well, I would say in terms of being your own boss, making your own way. Did you go ahead.
That's easy, actually, not to cut you. That's easy. Ever since I started to work, this is before I even started to trade seriously, but ever since I was working, you know, on the whole, I always realized that I'm not a big fan of people telling me what to do, right? And I had this thing in me that I always wanted to work for myself because my mom worked for herself. And naturally you're gonna follow your parents, right? And I think that's where it really stemmed from, but it was accelerated when I started to sell insurance way back in 2017, I think. Yeah, way back in 2017, give or take. Right. So I didn't stay very long as an insurance agent, but I got the concept of being on my own from being an agent, because essentially you work for yourself.
Right.
You feel me?
Right. You're commission based. You basically get what you put in out of it. And I'm sure that taught you sales, right?
Correct. 2016. That's when I was in insurance. 2016.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for kind of clarifying that timeline there. You mentioned that you kind of got it from your mom's, that she sort of like instilled these values in you. Would you say like you kind of got that guidance from her, or was there other people? Did you have like other mentors?
No, I will tell you that yes, I got the drive and the want to work for myself from her. But believe it or not, when I went into insurance and when I went into trading, she didn't support either. Neither of those things she supported. Neither of those things she, thought that it would work, right? And the reason why I still did it is because I knew that I could do it, and I kind of now use that as a way to kind of show other traders that doesn't really matter what other people say about you. What they say about you doesn't have to become your reality, right? Steve Harvey said that. So yeah, I guess that's the way I looked at it. Yes, she would want the best for me, but she didn't necessarily think that this was it. You feel me?
Right. So in those times of where maybe your parents doubted you, did you ever have moments of uncertainty, or where you felt like maybe she's right, maybe I need to not do this? And if so, like, how did you counter that, or how did you come up out of that mindset?
Absolutely. I think it would be weird. I think it would honestly be weird if you don't have doubts in your journey, right? But you have to remember why you're doing what it is you're doing, right? And I think that's what it stops a lot of people from being successful, right? If you forget about your why. Now, your why, your reasons are what you drive you to do what it is, the things that you want to do, right?
Right.
So I think, me just wanting to be on my own and having the ability to do whatever I want, whenever I want, was the constant why. But absolutely, there were times where there would be heavy doubts on my end, and if I'm making the right decision. But you just have to keep your head down and keep going, I think.
Right, because you have that why, what you're working towards, but sometimes on the road there, you may question, is this the right way to get to my why? So that's something that, like you're saying, you can't avoid it, but it's something we have to live with and work through, basically, huh?
Correct. I think a lot of issues within this space as well is that this industry, the trading industry on the whole, is that people don't really understand that there are things that you don't necessarily have control over, but you have to live with it, right? A very key factor is that we don't have control over what direction the market goes,
right?
And sometimes you're going to lose trades. That's just the reality of it, right?
Definitely. So, throughout your journey, have you ever had those moments where you maybe considered giving up at all? Would you say?
Absolutely. Again, I think it would be weird if you don't think about giving up, because again, it's human nature, right?
Right.
It is human nature to feel doubt and to feel fear and worry and anxiety, right? But I also think it's very important that you get past these things, because they put your greatest desires on the other side of your fears and your worries, right? So again, it comes back to your why. Why do you want to do the things that you want to do? Why did you choose this? Right. And I think once I dug down and realize that, it boils down to me knowing the life I want to live, that was all the driving force I needed to continue. Right. Regardless of losing any trades, regardless of not necessarily hitting whatever targets I would have set for myself, you just have to keep going. That's just the way I look at it.
That's interesting. Because I ask this question is usually like, and I'll ask it to you now. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to 18-year-old Brandon?
That's a good one. So I think I would give, because definitely I would not have been trading back then, right? What I think I would first do is tell me to go and trade, right? I would definitely tell me to go and learn to trade forex or learn to go and trade on the whole, right? As the first thing. And secondly, I would say stop studying what other people think. All right. I had to learn that by force, you know, in the work industry and and being an adult on the whole. Stop studying what other people think. Stop listening to the fact that other people are going to tell you that you can't do it. Other people are going to try to bring you down. What they think about themselves, they try to put it onto you. So again, think about what I'm telling you. My own mother did not necessarily support my decision to do what I do now, right? But I still did it. And now I am doing it. So the advice I would definitely give to myself is stop listening to people. A simple analogy I always use is the story of David and Goliath, where at the end of the story, David actually cut off Goliath's head. Now, obviously, you do this figuratively, right? But you need to cut off the head figuratively of anybody who doesn't necessarily support you or stands in your way. Figuratively, of course. Don't go and kill nobody.
Right. So, yeah, perfect. That kind of shifts me to where I wanted to go with the conversation. I wanted to ask you a bit about your teaching methods. And
right.
You already, in giving us game in this interview, mentioned David and Goliath and that story. I noticed in your teachings, you will often use analogies to explain a lesson. If you can maybe speak to that a bit, what gems have you uncovered with using analogies to get these lessons across?
Right. So it's interesting that you say, what I've discovered, because the way my brain works, and I have realized this about myself, and I know everything is about introspection, right? You look within yourself. What I've realized about myself realistically is that, my brain really works interesting, that I try to look for things in the real world to link back to whatever it is we're doing. And I can make an analogy more or less of anything. Now, what you're going to realize with me is I try to make things as simple to understand as possible. How do you make things simple? You make them relatable. So if you can relate to what it is I'm saying, right, then it will be a lot easier for you to understand what I'm saying, right? They say that you can't explain something to somebody if you don't understand it yourself. So what I try to do is make sure that you do understand it by giving you different angles of approach rather than just giving you the straightforward solution, if you may, or the straightforward explanation. I'll give you different perspectives so that you can see from, instead of 2 dimensions, you can see it from maybe 4.
I think that's kind of what separates you from all the other people I've learned from is just how you do that. And it really, I think, like, as traders, as just students in general, we have these gaps in our understanding, those analogies help kind of connect that loop. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely helped me. I use it in my teachings as well now. And I'm always using the sports analogies, comparing it to trading. And I think a lot of times it helps the traders just grasp the concept that much easier, because it's like you try to explain this foreign language of Forex or whatever we're working with, stocks, whatever it may be, and they may not be able to grasp it. But if you say winning a trade is like scoring a basket, losing a trade is like the other person scoring a basket. The most simple.
I mean, not to cut you again. I mean, it's interesting that you say the foreign language of Forex, because I mean, especially like the charts, it is indeed a language, right?
Right.
The candlesticks are a language. So if you can learn to understand the way the language works, it's quite easy to read the chart, or I should say simple to read the chart, right? So again, coming back to the way that you said you use sports analogies, what I tend to do is use analogies from most sectors, not just sports. I might use law, I might use physics, I might use chemistry, I might use anything that I can think to make a link to, so that more or less anybody who understands these concepts, it may resonate with them. It kind of comes like when, in the early stages of school, they won't just tell you 2 + 2 is equal to 4. They might tell you, Elwin has 2 apples, and Brandon has 2 apples. If you put them together, how many apples does Elwin and Brandon have? So now you can make a physical link to those apples and what 2 plus 2 actually is. Feel me?
Oh, I feel you. I feel you. All right. So, so out of all the mentors, you're the only mentor or training coach I've seen do classes 5 days a week, every year since I've known you. And maybe you take a day off here and there, but rarely do you. I know you've gone through stuff where you'll have like migraines or you're preoccupied with life, but you always show up to those lessons, man. How are you able to stay so consistent and disciplined and showing up every day?
Well, you see, again, it comes back to your why, right? My why is that, again, I'm a talker, right? I know that about myself. I like to talk, right? I like to express myself and express what's going on. Now, I've learned the skill of being a trader, and, by God's grace, I have become good at it. So I mix the two things that I'm good at, and that's essentially where it comes from. Now, me liking to express myself and talk about these things is very easy. But what I think really, where my purpose really came from, this became my why when I realized that people were asking me to learn. I think you yourself came and asked what it was I was doing, if I'm not mistaken. It could be somebody else. But I remember somebody asking very early in my teaching tenure what it is I was doing. And when I explained it to them, they were like, that makes so much sense. And when I realized that, I have a knack for explaining things, right? And I think it comes back to the why, right? My why is to help other people understand what it is I understand. And having them use what it is I taught to go forward and produce better results it gives me it gratifies it gratifies me, for want of a better word or for want of a better phrase. It makes me feel a lot better that I've helped somebody to understand something that was giving them a little problems. And I return every single day, twice a day, not just 5 days a week, but twice a week, twice a day, 5 days a week, right?
So it's like a higher gratification. It's not that immediate gratification. It's like a higher level.
Correct.
Right.
You understand? Because the reality is that, yes, money is good. Let's not even try to kid ourselves. But at a certain point, you're going to realize that doesn't matter how much money you have, you're going to start to give it back. It's one of the reasons why I give away a lot of free stuff as well. That's where I think philanthropy comes from, right? You don't really have a need to want the money anymore. You more want to give, right? And giving feels so much better than getting. I cannot express that.
I would agree. I don't know if everyone is like that or has that experience, but I would agree. And I think a lot of us teachers, us providing content, like that's why we're here. We found platforms to pour into people. So
yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No problem. I think anybody who doesn't agree with that hasn't truly given of themselves as of yet.
They just haven't evolved to that point.
Yeah. I think so.
I'm prying at something here. I'm going to drop it after this. So I just want to say, how are you able to show up though? How do you push through? Like when you're like, man, I'm not feeling it today. I got a bad headache. Like, what's going on in your head? Like you could easily cancel class any day. You don't have a reason. Is it really that why and that gratification in those moments? You just get you through?
Absolutely. I can't explain it. Some people just built like that. I honestly cannot explain it. I'll give you let's give you an analogy. So I'm not sure if you know this YouTuber, Mr. Beast. Right?
Sounds familiar.
If you don't, I advise that you check him out. He's a dude that he gives away a lot of money on YouTube. I highly advise that you check him out. Right? And they asked him, they say, why does he do this? Why does he insist on giving away so much money? Why? And he said he doesn't know. He genuinely does not know. His goal is just to do it. And it's just his why, right? And for me, I think that, again, the gratification that I get when people come to me and be like, B, you are amazing in terms of what it is you've taught me there, it is working, right? It's actually working in an industry where we are taught so much nonsense from this person and that person, this teacher and that teacher. When people actually come to me and say, bro, you are amazing. This has worked. This is working. You know what you're doing. That alone, that feeling alone is enough to keep me going.
Yeah, it seems like, well, we didn't talk about this, but a lot of your strength is prefaced on your self-discipline. And because I'm asking, how do you do it? It's
I honestly, bro, I can't tell you. Like, headache or
you're,
not,
you're disciplined,
I,
bro. You're disciplined.
I think it's just that, and the discipline will come from your why. The
Right.
discipline will come from your reasons, your driving force, your cornerstone. You feel me? I genuinely can't give any other explanation. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, this is the phenomenon we call Brandon. I see it play out in other things you do. Maybe you're like, I know you were working with gold. I know you were working with, even like you were showing me how you mastered a knife, and like how you could just, you were doing this cool stuff with this video and a knife. You just like flipping it and looking like a pro. And you were like, oh, I practiced with a knife that had a dull end to perfect it, kind of like a demo account.
Right.
So it's kind of like just a trait of yours, and you do this in every arena you get into. And I think like what I want to get from this interview is just like absorb that, bottle that into a podcast and say, you need to have some of this in your life if you want to get to your goals. This is somebody who can conquer, who can accomplish anything they want to do. They constantly are updating with the times.
I mean, I definitely agree. It is a trait. For the reason, because I know the question you're trying to get down to is how, but I can't explain it. Like, I honestly can't explain it. Because you're right. Now, I think my best friend even told me, he said that, you have a extremist personality in terms of anything you put your mind to is just a matter of time. And this is what he said about me. Now, I'm not saying this about myself. This is what someone else said about me. And I genuinely do not know what is the driving force, but I think anything I put my mind to, I just make it my business to to do my best at it, right? I do really like doing things halfway, so I think that anything I wanted to do, if I really chose to do it, I think if I wanted to be the president, I think I could do it. And there are going to be people that are going to laugh at that, but I genuinely think I can do it because it comes back to what I said, where you're not really supposed to care what other people think about you. So if I think that I could be the president, what does it matter if you laugh at me?
Right. Nothing. It means that
Exactly.
you don't have the same belief, or you can't fathom, you can't see something I can see.
Exactly. So it comes back to this extremist personality that my friend said that I have. But honestly, it obviously it does come down to discipline, and you need to be disciplined, you need to be consistent, you need to be you need to keep doing this thing over and over and over and over and over. And only when you realize that it's just repetition, that's really it. Once you realize what it is you need to be repeating and you're doing the correct thing, eventually it will happen.
Awesome. Yep. Repetition, the father of learning. And that's what I definitely have learned from you, fam. I know we don't care what people think. We're not entertaining their thoughts or their view of us. But what would you say? What are some things, or what's something that people seem to misunderstand about you?
That I am a very, very that I'm a douchebag. Right? I know that people probably think that because I'm so harsh, I'm so aggressive, I'm so in your face, that that I'm just a very horrible person or whatever. And it might be true, but I'll tell you that it's misunderstood in the regard that I'm just a passionate person, right? And I tend to not hold anything back because people in this world that we live in, obviously everybody studies instant gratification. They study, the beautiful lie, essentially. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in showing you why this what it is we do is so hard. Why being in this industry is so hard, right? I'm not interested in telling you that you can do this overnight because it's the truth. You can't. You understand? And people tend to read that as Brandon is a douchebag, Brandon is a a-hole, Brandon is this. And the reality is I'm just interested in telling you what you need to know, not what you want to know. And I think that's where it gets lost in translation. I mean, again, not that I really care, but I digress.
Right. I mean, that's your coaching style. It works. And yeah, just double down on that. Keep being you, brother. That's just you.
I think for the people that do end up entertaining what I say, they tend to grow to love me very quickly, or at the very least respect me very quickly, because when they realize that I'm not necessarily interested in just talking for talking's sake, and what I'm saying actually has weight, then they realize, oh, this dude is for real, right?
Yeah, and what I get from you is like there's no time to waste. Like today is important. We need to get this done now. I might not even be here tomorrow to hold your hand, so I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. Because what's the point? Why should I waste time coddling you or making you feel good or worrying that is my message delivered properly for you to ingest? No, I'm here. I'm Brandon. You need to receive it. If I don't resonate with you, if you don't receive it, that's on you, because you don't have ill intentions. So what the F?
Correct. And I think that, another thing that is lost in translation is that I'm not empathetic, because I am. I try my best to put myself in the listeners or the viewer's shoe, in the regard that I wanted somebody to tell me what was going on when I was at the stage, the absolute learning stage, and I didn't have it. I had to search and search and search to get it, right? So in the regard of telling people what they want to hear, I'm not going to do what I didn't get. You understand? I had to go and search and hunt for it. So that's what I do now, is just I put it together for people so that they don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. Right? And I mean, you are going to make mistakes, as I do. I still make mistakes. I think that's another thing that, people would respect about me. Those of them who do respect me, is that I don't hide when I lose. I talk about it very openly. I'm going to tell you that, guys, I got this wrong. It's something that you don't necessarily see in this industry. You understand?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love your framework, because when I was first learning it, the parameters are such in your setup that even when you make mistakes, you're okay. It's such a small loss, that it allows you, the framework allows you to make mistakes. And that's part of it. I guess I'll just ask you, what all are you doing these days?
Well, recently my program is so massive now, it's so huge in terms of raw information, that where I was housing the information before actually told me, yeah, this is too big, this is too much. It's that bad. It's literally that much, right? Because as you said, as you would have mentioned, I do 2 classes a day, every single day, 5 days a week. And I've been doing that for years, right? So when you think about that in terms of raw information, you're going to realize that it's a lot of data. So I actually just recently built my own website, and it is essentially it's still in the works, but it's I'd say about 50% completed. The website is functional and everything, but in terms of having all of the data transferred over to the website, it's still yet to be done in terms of the sheer amount. But again, as I said, the website there's a lot of free information over there. Again, I'm a big believer in the give-get scale, right? I'm not sure if you're aware of the give-get scale. Do you know about that?
Mm-mm. What's that?
The give-get scale is essentially where, they say cost is what you pay, value is what you get, right? So you always want to give more than you ask for, right?
Right.
I tend to give people away, give away to people so much information. And I mean, I think you know this as well. I just love to give, just love to give. So there's so much information, so many resources and stuff on that website. that, you know, you don't necessarily have anything to give, right? You're just giving maybe your time, maybe your attention, and you can go there and you can literally learn.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I've been up to recently. Other than that, just normal everyday living, trading, doing my thing. You know how it is go.
Yes, sir. Living the dream. Living the dream. But as you see, the dream requires you get your ass up every day. So all you people that's gonna talk about I'm gonna be a day trader, I'm gonna get rich and I'm gonna just be on the beach all day and never work. It is work. You just design your own work to do what you want to do. And that's what we're trying to make clear with our interviews is our guests have designed their lives to how they want it. But the underlying theme is that they are all working. They're showing up every day. They're getting up every morning to put the work in towards their vision. And we talk about there's nothing wrong with working a job, but when you work for your time, you'll always be working towards someone else's vision, unless this is your own business and you're doing those hours, of course.
I want to say something before you continue.
Yeah.
You see how you said, that, people think that they'll just be on the beach all day and, whatever. I think that is a misconception of this industry, right? Real traders work, they push, right? Bro, I live on an island. We are surrounded by beaches. And if I see the beach twice for the year, I see plenty, right? Because real traders are working, constantly working, may not necessarily be trading, but they're constantly working. So you don't have time to just kick back and go sit at the beach. Now, don't get it twisted. Obviously, I can do that whenever I like. But, the image that is portrayed by social media that traders just go to the beach all day or just drag around a suitcase of money, and you see that, I believe that is a big misconception. It's a very big disconnect in terms of what is and what it looks like. Yep. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that's how you. Hey, I love it. I think that's how you spot the scammers online, really, those who are just pushing the gains of it. Like, hey, check out this Lambo. Like those are all selling points. But every trader that I met that succeeded, that's on the other side, they're living their life and they're enjoying it. But there's that balance, right? There's always that balance. Like, we know Neo, he's a close friend of mine, a great trader. He's up every morning for London and then for New York and every single day, and he's posting his charts. But then, noon comes, gonna go karting with my son, gonna drop him off. We're doing this, and he can do what he wants. But he already put in 8 hours of work while your butt was sleeping, Right. So we as traders, we as entrepreneurs, we make it look easy sometimes. And people from the outside will just kind of focus on the glamorous side, the perks of it. And I think that's with everything, but there's always two sides to it. But I will tell you, it is much sweeter on the side for someone who wants to be in control of their own life, in control of their own destiny.
Absolutely.
So I did want to kind of ask you about your trading. So
right.
If you can kind of just explain, we're not going on charts. This is a podcast. What is your trading and your investment strategy?
Right. Okay. So I like to see that I'm a different type of trader, right? I approach everything with a very unique perspective, as you may know, right? I like to even call myself a hybrid trader, meaning I'm not just a day trader, or I'm not just a scalper, or I'm not just a swing trader. I can adapt to suit the market needs or the way that the market operates. So what I would typically do is try to scalp something, but if I'm given the opportunity, I would hold it for days, weeks if I'm given the opportunity. And that's actually how I would have had my, literally my single best trade as of recent, I think last year, if I'm not mistaken. Where gold? Like that was gold, right? That trade went like 1,200 and something pips. But I had an original stop loss of 10 pips, which, as you know, does not change. My stop loss will always be 10 pips. as a
So it
forex
was like a
trader.
1 to 230 or something
1
like
to
that.
123.
Okay, there you go.
Right?
I like that.
Which is an insane risk to reward if you understand how risk to reward really works. Right? So the way that I trade, basically, without going on the charts, is I tend to try to minimize my risk but maximize my reward. And you can't maximize your reward when you put a limit on it. So as you said, I'm given the opportunity to, have really, really tight stop losses. But as long as the market wants to go in my favor, I'll be there to capture it.
Are there certain things that you look for, though, like certain market conditions or something you see that says this is opportunity?
Absolutely. So a big thing for me is I don't trade reversals unless they are absolutely clear, right? Meaning a lot of people believe that, yes, reversals are something that happen daily, right? W patterns, M patterns, they believe that they are something that happen daily, but the reality is they don't, right? But then you have to ask the question, do I trade the trend lines? Since reversals don't happen daily, do I just trade trend lines instead? I don't do either. What I tend to do is I tend to follow the momentum of the market, which is a slightly different concept. But what I would basically do is just align myself with whatever the market is doing and find the literal best entry to follow suit. So it looks like when I am entering the trade, or literally moments after that I've entered the trade, it looks like as soon as I enter, the market just goes, right? And because of this, I know that people tend to call me the dealer and all kind of different things. But it's just that I really understand my entry technique based on understanding the direction, right? I can assure you that I'm not the dealer. I'm not the person in control of the market. I just know what I'm doing. And sometimes I'll be wrong. And I am okay with that because, again, if I'm losing 10 pips, but I have the ability to win 100, 200, 500, 1,000, then so what? I'll easily give 10 pips.
Right. So basically, you let the market do the work. And once you see that momentum, you know that you have a high speculation that there is a trade opportunity.
Absolutely. Think about it. Why would I want to do something or try to control something that I know I don't have control over? As I said, in this space, there are things that people don't accept, that they don't have control over it. I don't have control over when the market gains momentum, but I have control over how I enter and when I enter and why I enter. So I'm going to take control over those things and my risk and reward.
Okay. So I really grasp how you're coming up with your trade ideas. It's fairly simple. The charts are doing the work. And I know, as learning from you as a student, what specifically you look for, of course. Let me ask you this. When it comes down to business and other creative endeavors, where do you get those ideas from?
I tend to try to go into things that, especially like external businesses, I tend to try to go into things that, yes, I would have to do the work. I would have to do some work, but the less work I have to do in the long run, the better. Not because I'm lazy, but because I believe in working smart, not hard. If you can put a lot of effort into something and have it pay dividends later on, absolutely. That's essentially what we do as traders, not so? You put in all the work to learn this skill. And then as you get better and as you become profitable and successful and consistent, you get to reap the benefits of, you get to reap the benefits.
Right. Fruits of our labor. Yep. Okay. So we're going to wrap this up. Hopefully you got a couple more minutes for me.
Sure.
Over there. Okay. So this is a question I like to ask. If you had $1 million to invest, what would you put it in?
Right into the account, straight into the account. And I traded all of it. Straight into the account. I want to open 100 lots easily. Easily. Straight into the account. The reason for that is because, you see, yes, I can probably invest it into a business, right? But I've come to understand that I'm very confident in my setup. I'm gonna lose. But if you think about it, if I'm risking 1%, but I have the ability to make 10%, 20%, 50% return. As you know, that's the thing. I'm not saying these things empty. I'm not giving empty promises here. I'm not promising anything. But as you know, you've seen me trade, bro. If I have the ability to make a bigger return from a lesser investment, I'm going to go that way.
Right.
And if I say again?
I was going to say, now you're risking 1%. That's 10K. 10%. That's 100K.
Correct. Right. So if I were to, let's just say I were to take a trade with a $1 million account, risk 10K, and it goes 10% in my favor, which is absolutely possible with the way that I trade. That's, as you said, that's 100K a return, right? Which is only a 10% return. And as you know, sometimes I have trades that go 40% in my favor, 50% in my favor, sometimes even 100% in my favor. So, I mean, you do the maths, right?
Right. Okay. So say you had to pick between you this is a long-term investment. You had to pick between like Bitcoin and Ethereum,
Right.
gold, or Dogecoin. What you picking?
Woo, this is a hard one. Now,
only get one.
Oh my God. I'd say gold.
I knew it.
I'd say gold. I wouldn't say Bitcoin because I've been right on Bitcoin before. If you go on my YouTube, you'll see that I have been right on Bitcoin not once, but multiple times. Because it's very easy to read or simple to read. The chart is very simple. I tend to not say easy, but simple. Bitcoin's chart is quite simple to read and understand. It's literally the same chart happening over and over and over. But the reason why I would say gold is because gold is directly correlated to, current events essentially, or I would say directly correlated to the way that humans operate. Gold has been bullish for years, and it's probably going to stay bullish for as long as it can. So it's quite easy again to read gold. The reason why I would choose gold over Bitcoin, even though, let me just say easy, simple. The reason why I choose gold over Bitcoin is because it's easier in terms of the risk to risk 10 pips on gold. Whereas with Bitcoin, that's a lot harder. So even though I can risk 1% on gold, on Bitcoin and have a 10 pip stop loss, the chances of me staying in a trade on Bitcoin with a 10 pip stop loss, at least where it is right now, which is around 40 something thousand. Yes, I can do it, but the chances of it happening are significantly smaller to that of gold.
What if we're just talking like a long-term hold? You don't have to really worry about entry. It's just like you're going to hold gold for the next 20 years or hold Bitcoin or hold Doge.
Well, that's an interesting question, but I think this is where discipline comes in. It doesn't matter how long I try to hold it, it will always be a 10 pip stop loss because my philosophy is your risk should never, ever change. In terms of, so for me, I think my risk should always be ridiculously small, ridiculously tight, right? The less I have to risk, the better it is for me. So, and I think you know this. How long have you known me now? And how long have I been using the same 10 pip stop loss on everything?
What, 4 years?
4 years,
and
bro.
10 pips.
And I've been using 10
I use the same. I'm looking at my trading plan on my whiteboard. Max stop loss, 10 pips.
Exactly.
That's where I got it from, people. And I teach it. But if you want to know the source, this is how I learned how to manage my risk. And I'm saying I trade, I invest, I'm in all type of vehicles. But the foundation came from here, came from these lessons.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, bro, when I first got in this, I don't even call it business, but when I first heard about Forex and I was looking on them signal sites, a lot of times it was risk 50 pips to gain 35 pips. And
madness.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I'm glad I'm out of that hole. I'm glad I'm around, all of us who are crushing it and all those who are aspiring to crush it and keep up with us, be at that winner's table, be in that winner's circle. So I'm not even looking back, but yeah, just a beautiful place to be.
One thing I'll also say is, that what you said about aspiring to be in the winner's circle. If I had to give any kind of advice to anybody listening to this, I know over this podcast or however you're receiving this, I know I probably sound very cocky. I know that, right? I know that. I don't necessarily care. But if I had to give you advice, right? If you are still listening, don't be afraid to lose, right? In fact, be comfortable with losing. The biggest people in the world in terms of success, the most successful people, the most consistently profitable people in the world have failed way more times than they have succeeded. Think about that.
Hey, I second that. I third that. And that's where risk management is important. I had a class this morning and we were talking about Amazon and all the failed products and services they put out over the years, but it's nothing. They just throw them out. They allocate small parts of their budget to try new technology, new features, et cetera. If it fails, it fails. But we're talking about Amazon, $4,000 a share? You think they're scared of taking an L? No, they learn from it. They make adjustments. They keep growing and losing. What do we say? No losses, only lessons, but it's all
Correct.
part of the process.
Correct.
Okay, so I got one more question for you, and
Sure.
then we're going to get up out of here. I know you probably got to go swoop up your vehicle. Oh, no, I got two more. So I want to ask you this one specifically. What is your dream car?
I drive my dream car.
What you drive?
I drive a 1995 Mitsubishi Evolution 4.
Is it just a stock model or?
Oh, no. Oh, no. I've spent quite a bit of money on it and continue to spend quite a bit of money on it. But I tend to not use what I drive as a base for who I am. Yes, I mean, I'm proud of, accomplishing this and stuff, but, people tend to try to use what they drive as a degree of how successful they are.
Right.
I chose this because this is what I actually want to drive, not what I think people want me to drive or what I think people want to see me in. This has been a dream of mine for years. I literally have a Facebook post, like about 6 or 7 years ago, bro, where I was literally saying evolution coming soon.
Yeah,
right?
Brandon Evo was your name. You spoke it.
Yeah, literally, right? And again, I think, in terms of your goals, they should be your goals because that's what you want, not necessarily what you think other people want you to drive. So if you're buying something because you think you're going to look cool in it and you're going to fit in with a certain crowd or a certain clique or group, then you basically, I want to say that you probably have the wrong goals, right? I drive what I drive because I like to drive it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't go chasing guys because, those people who care, if someone is only around you or they only think you're cool because you got a certain car, like those ain't your friends. Those people will be gone.
Absolutely. Because the next thing, if it is something happens to the car, it crashes or whatever, they won't be around you anymore because they only like the car.
Right. They're like Brandon in Brandon's cool car, not Brandon. So you want people that rock with you for you. So, and also, yeah, I think that's why I wanted to ask you that, because I'm sure you can afford any car you want. You could drive whatever you want. And you may have your reasons for driving what you drive, but this is your dream. And, you're making it happen. We all, like for me with my music and my art, I'm able to design my studio, my workflow exactly like I want it. Maybe I take inspiration from other studios, but I'm not chasing to be any other artist. I'm not saying, oh, J. Cole got that mic, I got to go get that one. Nope. I research what I like. I may be aware of what J. Cole has, but I go for what I want. And
absolutely.
Yeah, that's the creative process in a nutshell. We're not just talking about art, trading. We're talking about winning at life. Anything in your mind you want to make into a tangible thing, you can do it. And Brandon gave us steps.
I think this is something that also drives me as well. We all have our own races to run, but you have lost your race the instant you decide to take your eyes off of your finish line and look at someone else's, right? So by constantly trying to compare yourself to others, you have lost your race because now you're running someone else's race, right? And trying to basically measure your success based on the things that you have accomplished in relation to other people, you are putting yourself at a disadvantage because you're doing things for the wrong reason, as I would say. You should want success because that's what you want, not because you think other people want you to be successful, right? Remember, people are only loyal to, their ideas and their needs of you, not necessarily you. I can pretty much guarantee you, if I wasn't uh, resourceful in terms of what I know as a trader, I probably would not have such a big following as a teacher. And I know that.
Right.
But it's because of me focusing on what I want, not necessarily what I think people want of me, that I'm still here and still going. You understand? Because, and let's be real, in this industry, all the mentors, and I don't even really like being called a mentor, to be honest with you, because I make mistakes too. But all of the mentors and the teachers and the gurus, I don't like being called any of these things. They are known for driving these really flashy cars and having these really flashy houses. And bro, I don't speak about these things, not necessarily because I can't, but because a rich man is never going to really tell you how rich he is he?
Right. And I don't want people to perceive, I want people to see me for me and get the message that I'm trying to put out there. I don't want to compete with that race. Like you said, everyone runs their own race. And you mentioned success. When you chase success of someone else's definition, you're not going to be happy to an extent, but also that's not success, because success is going to be subjective for what you desire for yourself, what obstacles you have to overcome for yourself. So if you chase someone else's definition of success, you may end up somewhere where it's labeled as success, but you're unhappy. You don't want to be there. You're not doing what you want to do. And then shoot, you're going to have to start off and start over again. And we're not just talking about money.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because a big thing that I live by is, Earl Nightingale saying that, or his definition of success, which is where success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, right? Meaning whatever you deem success to be, that's success so long as you're working towards it. So if success for you is driving a Toyota Corolla, bro, if you're working towards it or you even have it, congratulations, you are a success. It's dependent on what you deem success to be. I mightn't be the richest person on earth, but I can tell you that I consider myself a success because I know what I'm working towards and what I have. And I don't necessarily care.
I was going to say like a drug addict who has been staying clean, like 2 years clean. That's success,
Absolutely. And that's not easy. That's not easy. But it comes back down to understanding that we all have our own races to run, right? So again, as I said, if you can constantly try to run other people's races, you're going to realize just how hard you have it. And what that's going to make you do is make you bitter. It's going to make you realize that this person is doing these things and getting these things done. And now you, all of a sudden, you find yourself being, having hatred towards this person or having envy towards this person because they are doing things and you aren't. But it's because you aren't trying to do the things that you want to do. And you're focusing on what other people are doing. That's why you're failing.
Right. It has its drawbacks as well. Like think about, I like this example where say you want to build the tallest building. You shouldn't say, well, this building is 900 feet. Let me build this 901 feet. Instead, say, I want to build a 10,000 foot building or.
Absolutely.
So just go for your goal. Like if you're in sports, say, I want to be the top scorer in the league. Well, this guy has 20 points. If I put up 21, I'm the top scorer. You're constantly comparing and weighing against that person. If you just say, I'm going to score as much points as I can, I'm going to kill, I'm going to be the best. Shoot, you might put up 32 because this way you don't put a ceiling on your success and you don't limit yourself as much.
And it is very, very interesting that you said that because that is literally my philosophy on trading, right? Which is where I'm not putting a limit on how much I can be stand or how much I stand to be rewarded. So if I say that I have a 10 pip stop loss and I'm in a trade, if I have a 30 pip take profit, but the market keeps going, I'm essentially doing exactly what you just said, which is where, I only want 30 pips, but the market goes 70. What is going to happen now? As soon as the market keeps going, you took your 30 pips, but now you might find yourself feeling FOMO and you want to get back in. And in getting back in, you're not necessarily getting back in because you have your rules, but you're getting back in because you are missing out on profit that you left on the table. So again, it comes back to not necessarily focusing on your race, right? You could have literally just stayed in your trade and literally just held it for as long as you could. That's just the way I look at it. And you're absolutely correct in terms of, just trying to focus on just one-upping this person. So they have 20 points, but you want 21. You're going to be in an endless loop because when they score 22, you're going to have to score 23 and vice versa. And it's going to keep going. You'll never really set that bar to have people strive and work towards. And that limits you on a frontier that, most people will never understand because they don't realize what it is they're doing.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I think it does mess with the process when you put those limits on yourself, when you compare yourself to others, because basically you're operating in your ego and essentially it's like everything is coming from you. Oh, I got that trade. Oh, I scored those points. Oh, I built that building. When, brother, we both know we just vessels for the source doing all this magic work. And the more we stay aligned with that view and act as a vessel, that's how we keep winning. That's how we keep leveling up and receiving these blessings. But the moment you start comparing yourself and operating in that ego and all of that, you start to shut it off. At least in, my life experience, I noticed that.
No, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. And ego is something that this industry, especially because I know a lot of your listeners would be traders in their own right. I would tell you that ego is not welcome here, right? It's one of the reasons why, even though I sound like a douche or whatever, it doesn't really matter what you think or how you think. Even though I sound like this, I'm telling you, I allow the market to stop me out because I'm aware that if you are too egotistical, the market humbles you real quick. Real quick.
All right, so we're gonna get up out of here. I just gotta ask you one more question, bro. Thank you for your time. So, what does winning at life mean to you?
Oh, this is a hard question. For me, I would tell you that it's more or less just about continuing to hit targets. I'll tell you this. I have dreamt about, especially like all right, I'll give you an example, like with my car. I have dreamt about owning what I own, driving what I drive now for years. And I can tell you that having owned this specific vehicle for at least a year now, I'm numb to the fact that I own it, right? So what has happened is I tend to now set a new target or a new goal, right? And say, well, maybe now I wanna buy this piece of land, or maybe now I wanna build this or do this, right? And I think winning at life, the definition of that for me is just constantly setting targets, blowing them away, and setting new targets and then blowing past them, literally smashing those targets continuously. And I plan on doing that until I can't do it anymore.
Beautiful. That's a great answer, brother. Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, brother, for doing the podcast and sharing your knowledge. I know your time is valuable, so I appreciate you sitting down with me. Did you have anything you want to add before we get up out of here? Any sites or things you need to inform people, make them aware of?
As traders, if anybody wants to have an idea as to what it is I do or the way I do it or why I do it, check out my YouTube. No payment, you don't have to pay me for nothing. Something I tell a lot of people, you could learn to do what it is I do online for free, right? Literally, you could literally learn to do what it is I do as a trader online for free, right? You could check out my YouTube, check out my TikTok, check out my Instagram. Everything is at Ekata Trading. EKATA Trading, no spaces. Other than that, yeah, I'm not sure if anybody would even take me seriously because of the way I sound, and that's okay as well. All right.
Well, we're not worried about them. We're here for those.
No.
Yeah,
I could care less, to be honest with you. Yeah. But I like to give disclaimers that yes, I'm aware of the way I sound. I'm very much aware. I'm not ignorant to the fact that I might sound like a douchebag. I'm very much aware of that. And I'm fine with it. I lean into it actually. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, double down on being you. And I will say me and my homies, we're all blessed and we're grateful that you helped us. I've had to send a few of my friends on the trading journey to you, where they were struggling and I'm like, go see Brandon. And they're like, oh, okay, I'm done. When they go see you, they stop blowing their account. So with all the good you've done in the world, man, some people just got to get with the approach. If not, they just gonna miss out. But oh well, there's just not different strokes for different folks, right?
Can't save everything.
Yep. And if they don't want to be saved, oh well, let them drown. But I'll make sure to put your site and everything in the description for the show. Make sure everyone can find you. And yeah, we're out of here. Thanks a lot. And we'll see you next week, everyone. Peace out.
Peace out, brother.